Kaieteur Radio.
Hello, thank you for tuning in to Kaieteur Radio. I'm Kevin Smith and welcome to your News at Noon. Let's get to the news in detail. Nigeria, the largest oil producer in Africa, is now at the feet of oil companies begging for their mercy. It is appealing for the company's cooperation in scaling back operational costs. This, the government believes, would be helpful in increasing its share of its profit, which would be used to purchase crucial medical and food supplies for its 200 million citizens who are crumbling at the pressures of the COVID-19 pandemic. Exposing the extent of the economic despair that has gripped Nigeria is the Natural Resource Governance Institute, or NRGI. NRGI found that, like other nations, Nigeria was and still is not prepared to deal with the economic effects of the pandemic. Though it was expected that given its enviable reserve of natural resources, it would have been in a much better position than most. Corruption, chronic mismanagement, and poorly administered deals have played major roles in leaving it in a most disadvantageous position today, said NRGI. Meanwhile, ExxonMobil has announced the commencement of another exploration well at the Kaieteur 1 site, even as the company has committed to relocating its supplies base from Trinidad and Tobago to Guyana by next year. The announcement with regards to the spudding of the latest well by Esso as part of its 5-year, 25-well campaign in the Scarborough Block was announced by MARAD. MARAD had cautioned mariners to stay clear of the company's drilling and support vessels. And now let's tell you, more than 6 years after the discovery of oil, recently appointed head Cameron revealed that the policy of dispersants is being developed. The regulator that the use of dispersants, oftentimes toxic chemicals used to break down oily surfaces, has to be an absolute last resort during the cleanup of an unmitigated oil spill. Apart from the policy of dispersants, the EPA is also conducting a review of its legislative framework, and at the end of this process, amendments, if needed, would be made. And moving on, political interference and the deliberate dismantling of the EPA is currently decimating the ability of the entity to execute its mandate, a development that should be worrisome to every single member of the Guyanese community. At least this is according to former executive director of the agency, Dr. Vincent Adams. Dr. Adams noted that recently there have been some worrisome developments and that what is happening, all of these institutional pillars are being destroyed and torn down. He pointed to the fact that several key staffers at the agency are now either being forced to leave, being demoted, or their contracts are being negated altogether. Dr. Adams cited as an example a lawyer that he employed was forced to leave the agency. According to the former director, it was the very lawyer that had taken ExxonMobil Guyana to court over an infraction and questioned if this instance had anything to do with its removal. Get the full details in today's Kaieteur News. And moving on, Celeste Brittlebank, the cop who had made headlines in the media for brutalizing his common-law wife until she fell unconscious, walked free yesterday after the victim reportedly told the court to discontinue the matter. Brittlebank had gone into hiding after he had severely beaten the woman for hours on Thursday, July 1st, at her Mahaica home, but had turned himself in to police 7 days after the media exposed his brutal act. He was remanded to prison for the offense on July 12th. During his second court appearance later that month, the cop was released on $50,000 bail and was ordered to return to court yesterday. After Brittlebank walked free, the woman said that she just wanted to return to her normal life. And now let's tell you, what was supposed to be a journey home for a Heritage Month celebration ended tragically for 26-year-old Mark Wells of Kamaka, Region 1, after he was killed in a vehicular accident on Sunday night. The accident, which claimed the life of the young carpenter and left 2 other persons hospitalized, occurred sometime around 8 in the that day in the Yarakita Access Road, Region 1. According to reports, Wells was at the time traveling with 17-year-old Leroy Chu, Edwin King, and John Peters, and 2 other persons yet to be identified in a canter truck when it developed some mechanical problems which caused the accident to occur. And now let's tell you, 66-year-old Lauren Graham was yesterday released on bail when she appeared before a city magistrate for allegedly pretending that she was in a position to sell a parcel of land. Graham appeared in the Georgetown Magistrates Courts before Senior Magistrate Delhi. She denied the charge, which alleged that between September 1st and 17th in Georgetown, she conspired with others and falsely pretended to Leon Joseph, a real estate agent, that she was in a position to sell of land in Eccles, East Bank Demerara, while knowing this to be false. Police prosecutor Annalisa Brummel objected to bail being granted to the pensioner on the grounds that she allegedly gave a statement admitting to the crime. However, Senior Magistrate Daly granted bail in the sum of $300,000 and the matter was adjourned to October 18th. Now for the COVID-19 update, followed by the page 7 of the Kaieteur News. Yesterday, the Ministry of Health announced that 8 more persons who tested positive for COVID-19 have died. As a result of this, the country's COVID-19 death toll has moved to 733. According to the ministry's release, the latest fatalities are that of 6 unvaccinated persons, 1 partially vaccinated and another whose vaccination status is unknown. 130 new infections were recorded, bringing the total number of confirmed cases to 29,683. 30 patients are admitted in the ICU, 160 persons in institutional isolation, 3,505 in home isolation, and 1 in institutional quarantine. A total of 25,255 persons who tested have recovered. It remains mind-boggling to us at this newspaper and this radio station that the police force, based on its stats, insists that there has been a reduction in crime. If the force remains resolute in pushing its quote-unquote facts, then our conclusion is simple. Many of the crimes executed on a daily basis are not reported to the force. Is it that the people do not trust those within the force? We at this publication believe that the force should waste no time in getting to the bottom of this situation. After all, without the people, crime fighting will most likely become a tall, if not impossible task. And with that, we've come to the end of today's News at Noon. Thank you for
Want value for your advertising dollar? Then place your ads on Kaieteur Radio's newscasts. Streamed live on 6 different mediums, reaching hundreds of thousands. Advertise today at